Laura Trump is Donald Trump Jr.'s sister-in-law. She's a senior advisor to President Trump's 2020 re-election campaign, and she joins us tonight. Laura Trump, thanks very much for coming on.
Thank you. Great to be with you. My first time on your show.
Yeah, and we're happy you're here. This is a genuinely baffling story, I would say. So this afternoon, Richard Blumenthal, the senator from Connecticut, said that if your brother-in-law doesn't comply with the subpoena and come and testify before the committee, quote, he ought to be put in jail. Prison is the only answer. What is going on here, do you think?
Well, it's really confusing, I think, to a lot of people, because to the point you just made, this is over. The Mueller report is complete. We know that what it was started to do to show whether or not the Trump campaign and the president colluded with Russia has been solved. We know that did not happen.
Right.
Whatever they think they're going to do is not going to change that. It's not going to make Hillary Clinton the president of the United States, like I know they all wanted so badly for so long. Unfortunately, this is just more of the same, Tucker. This is harassment of our family, harassment of the president. And it's a shame because the American people send these folks in Congress to Washington, D.C. to make great changes in our country and to do things that they want to see happen. They're doing nothing. What is this doing for our country? It's nonsense. They need to focus on things Americans care about. Nobody cares about this. It's over. It's dead.
I think that's a fair summation. I mean, I think you're factually correct. And by the way, I believe that your brother-in-law has offered to respond to any questions the committee has in writing, but they're demanding he come in person, which kind of underscores the point you made. Here's the confusing part. The Senate is controlled by Republicans. Mitch McConnell is the Senate Majority Leader. He appointed Senator Burr to head this committee. So it's really a question of Mitch McConnell. Like, why would he allow this, do you think?
Well, that's very confusing. It seems like he's pretty upset by this. And as a native North Carolinian, I am shocked and appalled that somebody from a Republican from my home state would do something as crazy as this. I'm not sure what the strategy is here. Don has gone in and testified for dozens of hours and told them everything he knows, which is very little. There was such a short span of time that this one conversation, this one meeting that everyone's obsessed with took place. I don't know what they think is going to happen. I don't know what they think they're going to get out of this. But truly, the country is sick and tired of this. Our family has done everything, complied in every way we possibly can, and they still won't leave anybody alone. So it's really sad. But listen, if I were Don, I certainly wouldn't go in there because he's done his part. He's done what he needed to do, and this is just more harassment.
Well, I mean, and you got to think that either Burr will come to his senses or McConnell will. I mean, there's no reason right before a presidential election the Republican Party ought to be attacking itself over something that's literally irrelevant. So let me just ask you this, though. It's one thing to have people dislike the policies that your family supports. That's a political difference. But for over 2 years, your family has been called traitors, colluders with a hostile foreign power, Russia. That's a different thing. What's that been like?
Well, it's certainly not easy when you know it's not true, when you know you're a good person. The president is a great person. Our entire family is comprised of great people who've always followed the law and always done the right thing. And listen, the president's life is a lot tougher now as a president than it ever would have been before. You know, he had a great life and he became the president and is putting himself through the constant attacks every day because he loves this country. And to his credit, despite the constant negativity, despite the obstruction, despite everything he's had thrown at him every single day, look at where we are in this country. Look at the accomplishments of this president in his first 2.5 years in office, Tucker. It's incredible to see where our economy is, lowest unemployment in the history of this country, leveling the playing field with trade across the world, putting Americans back to work, bringing manufacturing jobs back. We could go on all day.
Right.
And that is with all that he's had to deal with. Imagine what he could accomplish if everybody got together and said, you know what, instead of playing politics, we want to do the right thing for the American people. But kudos to the president because he's done a great job, despite the fact that they've tried to stop him at every single turn.
Well, and especially in the Russia stuff. I mean, it's just too stupid, I would say. Laura Trump, thank you. It was great to have you tonight. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Congress must act to fix our horrible immigration laws. This is crazy what's happening. And what we really need more than anything else, we need the loopholes closed by Congress. It would take 15 minutes.
President Trump calling on Congress to fix our broken borders at a rally in Florida last night. The president's comments come as nearly 100,000 people were apprehended at the border in April. That's the highest level since 2007. I'm joined now by Georgia Congressman Rob Woodall. Congressman, thanks for joining us. 15 minutes. What's the holdup?
Listen, we've had the president invite folks down to the White House to begin these conversations and can't get folks excited about it. I had my first 2 votes on changing the legal immigration system and ending illegal immigration in 10 years in Congress just this past summer. We've got to bring people together, and we can bring people together. President Trump said in his State of the Union speech he wants to preside over the highest level of legal immigration in American history. And we ought to all agree that breaking the laws is never going to be the right answer.
And we have extraordinarily high levels of legal immigration, which I don't think enough Americans even realize. But the illegal immigration problem, in a recent surge, particularly led by families and children, everyone now agrees it's a crisis. That seems to me an important first step. Toward the end of last year, the numbers weren't there. It was more of a political debate. Now it's a human debate. It's a acknowledged human crisis. Does that create a greater sense of urgency?
Well, I can't tell. It seems to me oftentimes that folks would rather use the human condition as a political issue than actually an opportunity to solve something. I thank you for recognizing that America has the highest level of legal immigration of any nation on the planet. That's important because when we have this illegal immigration conversation, depending on which side you're on, folks paint it as do you care or do you not? We all care, and you're absolutely right. Ending this border crisis is going to save children. It's going to protect children because they're being used as pawns by human smugglers right on the border today.
Congressman, what would be some of the things that you think would be the right answers and palatable to your colleagues on the other side of the aisle?
Charles, I've been down to Honduras and Guatemala, El Salvador, had conversations with families that were preparing to travel north. They'll say, Rob, I don't need to leave my home country, but America has gotten so good at enforcing its immigration laws. My husband, my father, can't come back and forth to work during seasonal labor. Let's give out those seasonal visas legally. Let's find out who's coming and why they're coming and make sure that they're not displacing American workers. Let's have robust seasonal visa opportunities available.
Well, I know that the administration has bumped up the number of seasonal visas, and that also points to the symbiotic relationship that we have with the immigrants who are coming to this country. And just the idea is that we should be able to control this. Other countries have systems where it's based on merit. And it's so interesting because they're never called races in Canada for these kind of systems. Right. Their percentage of immigrants are a lot higher as a percentage of their overall population, and it seems to work for everyone. Why don't we begin down a path like that where we have a sort of system that rewards the folks that we want coming here?
Right. We do have a system in place today. I represent a majority-minority district in the state of Georgia. 27% of my bosses are first-generation American citizens. Many of them have come to the country legally on a visa, and they're still in a 10-year, 20-year, 30-year line to become a United States citizen. Those families say, Rob, how can you go and just wave your magic wand to make folks coming over the border illegally now legal when my family has been caught in limbo doing it the right way now for the past 10 years? We can solve all of these problems simultaneously, but I need my friends on the left to acknowledge that open borders is not the answer. There is a right way and a wrong way to come to America, and if we can't agree on that as a starting point, there's nowhere to go in this conversation.
Congressman Woodall, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Former Vice President Joe Biden is taking a big step to the left tonight. Former Vice President who is considered one of the more centrist members of the Democratic presidential primary field, is now calling for a controversial new entitlement. Correspondent Peter Ducey has details.
Joe Biden believes the U.S. should be the land of the free. Health care for undocumented immigrants.
Anyone who is in a situation where they need our health system, regardless of whether they're documented or undocumented, we have an obligation to keep them safe.
That's the most noteworthy thing he's said about health care since A confident Biden is also now forecasting when contenders stuck in single digits will start dropping out.
Come out of Iowa, you need 15% of the caucus. And so it's going to work its way through relatively quickly.
Biden says the time for detailed discussion about policy will be next month's first debate, but Elizabeth Warren doesn't want to wait. She's on the cover of Time magazine next to a headline that's an ode to her rallying cry.
I got a plan for that.
Time reports, quote, her campaign, staffers say, is built on the conviction that voters want substance, not theatrics, and will throw in for the candidate who puts forth serious ideas to create change. President Trump believes his early attacks on Warren knocked her out of contention. He's got his eye now on Biden, Bernie, and
Boot edge. Boot edge. They say edge.
Mayor Pete might be surging in the states, but President Trump argues he'd stumble on the world stage.
Representing us against President Xi of China. That'll be great. I want to be in that room. I want to watch that one.
The president's rally was in Florida because he can do something Democrats can't do till next year. Their priority is the primary, while the president can use data his team has been collecting since 2016 to focus on the general election already. Brett?
Peter, thank you.